This video will step you through the process of calculating Z star for different levels of confidence. As an example, I'm going to show you how to find this for 90% here. So the idea is going to be the same for the TI-83, 84, and 89. So I've written up kind of general steps. And that process is start by putting that confidence level that you want in the middle of a normal curve. So for example, let's try to find Z star for 90%. So on my curve, I have 90% in the center. Now, by default, your calculator and technology will often try to look up things in that left tail. It's trying to find percentiles. So if I have 90% in the center, I try to find the area in both tails. 100% minus 90% tells me that I have 10% sitting in both of these spots in total. So if I wanted to know how much I had in just one of those tails, I should take that amount and split it in half. So that means I have 5% here and 5% here. I'm going to be using my calculator to look up this 5% that I have to the left, and that will give me my Z-score. So I'm going to want to go in the opposite direction. I'm going to do something called inverse. I'm working with the normal distribution, and the area that I'm trying to find in that tail is 0.05. Let me show you how to do this in the TI-89 calculator first. So I'm going into the same spot I always go inside of my TI-89, stat list editor. So I go apps, I choose stat list editor, and I go over to the top here. I'm looking at F5. To get to F5, I just hit the button for F5. I'm going in the inverse direction. So I'm going to choose inverse. I can either hit enter or the over arrow. I'll hit the over arrow. And I'm working with the normal distribution. So I'm doing inverse normal. It asked me for the area in that one tail. Well, that area was 0.05. It was 5%. I leave mu and sigma alone. This is the standard normal curve with an average of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. I hit enter, enter again. And this gives me a Z-score of negative 1.645 or so. That's what it says there at the inverse. So to change this to my Z star, because my Z star, my critical value, is the amount that I go both up and down. So Z star is a two-directional thing. Think of this as saying the distance away from something. I don't say I'm negative 1 mile away. I just say I'm 1 mile away. So as a final step, make that thing positive. Let me show you what this looks like now for your TI-84. I want to find inverse norm. So I'm going into my calculator. I want to do something with the distribution. Distribution shows up here in blue. So I'm going blue vars. I'm doing an inverted normal, so I'm choosing inverse normal. The area in one of my tails was 5%. I leave mu as 0 and sigma as 1, and I'll just go down to paste and enter. That gives me my Z-score of negative 1.645. I make this positive because it's a two-directional thing. It's a distance statement. So this tells me my critical value is 1.645 or so. Let's see the same thing now for GeoGebra. In GeoGebra, I open up the option for probability. I'm working with the normal distribution, so this looks great already. I'm going to choose the option here on the left side. This gives me the amount shaded to the left. And in the area, that's this outside number here, I'm going to type in the size of that one tail, 5%. So I've gone into my GeoGebra. I went to the option for probability. I chose shaded to the left, and I typed in my area here on the outside. That gave me a critical value of 1.645. I'm getting the same thing for each of these. Now, once you get the hang of this, you can very quickly find the critical value for 95 and 99%. So here's how fast I typically do these things. So if I'm inside of my calculator, I can just pull in the last thing I've typed in, for example. If I wanted to be 95% confident, then I would have 95 in the center, 5% for both, so just 2.5 for one of those tails. So I've changed that area from 5% to 2.5%. So I would have a critical value of 1.96 if I wanted to be 95% confident. I'm going to show you this for 99 as well. 99, that leaves 1% for both of those tails. 1% cut in half tells me that I have 0.005 or half a percentage in each of those individual tails. This gives me a critical value of 2.576. So for 90%, my critical value was 1.645. For 95%, it was 1.96. And for 99, it was 2.576. If you wanted to be 98% confident or 93 or whatever level you want to be, you now have the ability of finding the critical value that you could plug in when doing your confidence intervals.